Hello and welcome to this talk about e-commerce in the Caribbean. Really happy that you are joining me today. As usual, let me know if you can see and hear me loud and clear. Say hello in the chat below there. Hit the like button, whatever is the most convenient for you, just to make sure that all the tech is working and you have the best experience. If this is the first time, you're joining a live stream or joining one of my live streams, feel free to ask any question that you might have. I will always try to answer them to the best of my abilities, even if I sometimes maybe don't see them right away. And keep in mind, this live stream usually has a 10 to 20-second delay, depending on the platform you are watching it. All right, so today I want to talk about e-commerce and more specifically e-commerce in the Caribbean, or the three pillars of e-commerce, because I think the last 18 months have shown that there were a lot of changes. The world is changing, and everybody that is not adapting risks going to be left behind. And therefore, especially when you are a direct to consumer organization, or if you are selling retail, or maybe you are a restaurant where you're selling direct to the end consumer, then this is the right place for you to be today, because I'm going to share some of the insights that we gained over the last years, especially when it comes to selling or marketing your products and services online, and more specifically in that case, if you're actually selling physical products to an end consumer. Therefore, again, I try to be as specific as possible, but of course, I don't know your current situation, your circumstances. So if you have a specific question that you want to get answered, put it in the chat and I will try to answer it during the stream. I really want to spark and foster a conversation here. So when I talk about strategy or e-commerce strategy, I want to specifically focus on three areas in this talk today. Because I think these are, especially when you already have an existing business, if you already have an existing company and now think, okay, how can I sell, how can I start selling my products not only offline, but in a more and more online environment, there are a few areas that you should focus on. Of course, one question that you probably have in mind is, okay, what platform should you use? What should be the back-end side? What should be the whole e-commerce system that you should use to selling your products online? And what are the requirements for such a system? Then you want to think about the marketing aspect of things, because online maybe even more than offline, saying build it and that and they will come doesn't really work here, meaning you have to make sure that you have a solid marketing strategy and solid marketing capabilities, and that you kind of think from the start about these areas to make sure you don't wake up one day after you already invested a lot of time, money and energy into the project and then realize, okay, nobody is really visiting your store or buying your products. So marketing, super important part. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about payment, or more precisely payment gateways, ways for you to collect payments online and offline. Because as you probably know, unfortunately, the Caribbean has a lot of limitations when it comes to processing payments online, generally when it comes to the banking environment. Just sending money from one country to another can be a real challenge. And at the end of the day, it's important, or not only from a cash flow perspective, but generally speaking, very important to make sure that your payment system is integrated in your overall strategy. So when we talk about the platform, or the first question that you should ask yourself when you embarking on that e-commerce journey or on that digital transformation journey, you should ask yourself, okay, should you use an existing marketplace that is already out there, or should you build your own online shop? Should you use your own e-commerce system? Both have pros and cons, and I want to talk a little bit about that now. So first of all, what are marketplaces? Similar than in the offline world, where you have marketplaces, for example, agriculture or marketplaces where you can literally buy food from a lot of different vendors. We have the same when it comes to online marketplaces. We have, or I put two of the most famous ones in here. As you can see, we have, for example, Amazon or eBay. There are much more, and depending on the industry you're in, there are probably more that might be relevant in your scenario. But for the sake of this talk and this example, I want to go with the most famous ones. So, for example, Amazon is a platform where basically everybody can open a merchant account, start as a vendor, and start selling your products. And on the other hand, eBay, where you can do the same, but also a lot of private sellers are on these marketplaces. So probably the biggest differentiation is that, as the name says, on these marketplaces, you are not the only person that is selling there, but rather one out of a lot of competitors, which is, of course, for the end consumer a very convenient thing, because you only have to go to one place and have a lot of different options. But maybe for you as a vendor, as a merchant, also comes with some downsides, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Then on the other hand, we have online shops or e-commerce systems, however you want to call them. And there are a lot of e-commerce systems out there that you can use, that are available. Again, the list is nearly endless, and almost every website builder or hosting provider, even some social media platforms now have some sort of e-commerce capability where you can set up an easy listing of a product, and maybe even can integrate some payment gateways. But the most, probably the most famous or most popular ones that are basically, or that are really full e-commerce systems are, for example, Shopify or WooCommerce. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them later, but basically what they enable you is to build your complete your own system, your complete owned online shop. And I explain in a second why that is so important. So the main difference here compared to a marketplace is you are the only person, you are the owner of that entity, of that shop. You can design it in the way you want. You can set all the rules, shipping conditions, etc. Everything that touches the overall strategy and features and requirements of your online presence. You can manage that here, and you own everything. And the big advantage, or at least compared to, let's say, 10 years ago, is that most of these solutions that we have today are relatively easy to set up, to maintain, and also for a relatively cheap price compared to what you have had to pay a few years ago. If you just joined, by the way, again, feel free to ask your questions in the chat, drop your thoughts in the comment section, and then I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities. So what are the main differences between a marketplace solution like Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and so on, and your own online shop, your own e-commerce system? I could spend probably a whole day talking about the different options that you have with the different providers. But again, I try to keep it as concise as possible and try to give you an idea and focus on the most important parts. So first of all, one of the biggest pros, but maybe also one of the biggest cons, is the UX design. So for example, if you decide for yourself that you want to list your products on Amazon, Amazon is a conversion machine. You not only benefit from the brand recognition of Amazon itself, people trust the brand, but you can also be sure that the whole UX design, the conversion optimization is basically the best that you can get and benefit from all the data that Amazon has to optimize their buttons, the colors, the whole checkout process, and how the whole website and the whole experience is set up and maintained. So on the one hand, you don't have to worry about that too much, but can be sure, because it's in Amazon's own interest, that you really have up-to-date and state-of-the-art technology and UX design on these platforms. Of course, there are differences. For example, if you compare it to eBay or other platforms, they might be a little bit behind in that terms. But generally speaking, you benefit from the huge amount of experience, manpower, technology that these companies, these marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, etc., are offering. On the other side, they also have they also come with a downside, which is that you can't change or can't customize anything on these platforms, because the only options that you have is to put up a few pictures, description of your product, the pricing, maybe the shipping conditions, and that's pretty much it. So when you're talking about customization, branding, etc., you are very limited in that regard. And you also don't really have the option to stand out of the crowd, because again, you're using the technology and you're using the UX design of these marketplaces. Which brings me to the next point, which is maybe even more important. Customer data, or your customers' data and information, because you need to be aware that when you list your products on Amazon, all the data, and that is maybe one of the most valuable things that you can have in your organization, in your business, goes to Amazon. So you basically don't know who is buying your products. You don't have any information about your customers. So Amazon, for example, has that in their rules, in their requirements, that you, for example, don't get the email address of your customers or any other contact information, and you're even prohibited to reach out to them. And therefore, you don't really have the option to build your own brand, build your own customer base, but you're basically acquiring customers for Amazon. So all the customer data, all the analytics, all the insights that also can help you make business decisions for the future, you do not have access, or very limited access to this information, which literally can result in the situation that you may be sold for years your products on a platform like Amazon, then they change their conditions, and it doesn't make sense for you anymore to sell there, or you are completely locked out, and then all that customers that you have or that you built up over the past stay with Amazon, and you basically are left out. So let me have a look at the question here. Andre Brown is asking, we own our own platform that caters specifically to the Jamaican market. We offer locally based payment solutions. I want to connect you with you on this. Yeah, feel free to reach out. The best way usually to do that is through LinkedIn. Shoot me a message there or send me an email. That is usually the best way to connect with me and talk about these things. Because payment solutions always a big bottleneck for a lot of Caribbean countries, Caribbean organizations and companies. So next point, branding and marketing. That kind of ties in with the UX problem, with the customer data situation. At the end of the day, if you use a marketplace like Amazon or eBay, you don't have or have very limited capabilities to build your own brand on the one hand, meaning you can design the pages like you want. You're literally limited to images and description. You also don't have access to really market to your customers because, again, you don't get any customer data, you don't get any feedback from Google Analytics, you don't get any pixel data from Amazon or anything like that. So you're basically blind when it comes to that aspect. So when you think from a strategic and from a long-term perspective about that, and you really want to build a brand and really want to establish your company, your organization, your brand online, and make sure that this is not only a quick endeavor, but you really think long-term here, then you want to make sure that you have some solution in place where you control your branding and where you own your customer data so that you can market to your customers in the future and really build a relationship with them. So what would be the strategy that I would, generally speaking, recommend how you should structure your e-commerce solution from a marketplace, from an e-commerce system perspective? Definitely make sure that the core of your operation, the core of your e-commerce strategy is your own online shop, your own online presence. If you then use Shopify or WooCommerce or BigCommerce or whatever solution makes the most sense in your case is another question, and we can talk about that. But make sure that you own that real estate if you want to. That you own your customer data, that you're able to market to your customers, that you can build your own brand. And then you can, and basically, every modern or every up-to-date e-commerce solution nowadays offers that you can then add additional sales channels, for example, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Instagram shopping, and so on, which then tie in to your core solution so that you do not miss out on that these sales channels, that you also use them and benefit from the advantages that they have, because again, Amazon is a big marketplace. It offers free or a lot of free traffic because people already are there and people are in a buying mode there. But on the other hand, that you make sure that you own the customer data and that whenever possible, you get people back into your own real estate, in your own customer database, and your own online shop. So again, the core of your operation should be your own online shop, and then you have multiple sales channels that you can seamlessly tie in to that operation. All right, let's talk about marketing. Because as I said earlier, you can build it, but they will probably not, or they probably won't come, because the internet is big, and when people don't know where they can find you, you will have a hard time making any sales. So I want to talk a little bit about the few areas that you should think about. Again, all of them have their pros and their disadvantages. So on the one hand, we have social media. You're probably watching me right now on the social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and now also TikTok. And when you're watching this video a few years from when I'm recording this, there are probably a handful of other social media platforms that might be relevant now as well. But generally speaking, we all spend more and more time on social media, especially because of the pandemic. People in general spend more time online and therefore more time on social media platforms. Social media is generally speaking a great top of funnel marketing channel, meaning a great opportunity to generate awareness of your brand, so that you can reach people that do not know you yet, or that do not think about you as a company that might be able to solve a problem that they have. Of course, you want to make sure that you not just go on any social media platform and start being active there, because that's maybe a mistake that we see quite often, that organizations know that they should be on social media, and then they are either on every social media platform a little bit, or they are so overwhelmed that they don't start in the first place. So I want to encourage you to really think about, okay, which are the platforms where your customer actually spends their time. So you don't have to be on any or on every platform, but maybe start with one where you think that has the most potential for you, and then when that is working, expand on other platforms. After you selected a platform, you then want to think about, okay, what is your social media strategy? Besides from getting awareness, generating sales, etc. I'm talking here about, okay, do you follow a more paid strategy, or do you approach it more from an organic perspective? What are the differences? Especially when we look at Caribbean organizations, most of them have an organic approach, meaning they try to post more or less regularly on the different social media channels. Maybe they even have a social media manager or a content production agency, which kind of produces the content for them. And then they just organically post it on the platform and hope that the platform is showing it to the right people that might be interested in their products or services. The advantage here, or the benefit here, is of course that you do not pay for distribution in that case. You only pay for the content production and again maybe staff, social media manager, etc. to maybe you pay for distribution because you have to post it, and at the end of the day someone has to do that. So no matter what, it costs you money at the end of the day. But when we talk about organic, we have the problem that you do not really control who is going to see your content at the end of the day, because the algorithm, the platform itself, determines that, and you have very little influence. Maybe you can use some hashtags, things of that nature, but you are not really able to target the people that you actually want to reach. So I want to encourage you to definitely consider and think about some sort of paid strategy. Meaning, no matter which platform you're using, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, all of them have paid advertising, paid marketing capability, or an ad platform to be more precisely. Meaning and that's at the end of the day their core business model. Meaning you are paying these platforms and they show your content, your ads, your material to exactly the people that you want to target, that you want to reach, that you can determine. And not only that, but it also gives you way quicker traction and way faster results than, for example, with organic strategy, where it can take weeks, months, sometimes even years till you actually build that following, build that traction, and actually get enough reach to make a significant business impact compared to a paid solution where you literally put money on the table and then thousands of people see your content, see the ads, see the message that you want to put in front of people. And I want to really encourage you to think about that more, because I think a lot of Caribbean organizations are not really aware in the kind of nice position you are, because if you compare the ad costs that you have on these platforms in the Caribbean compared to other markets like the US, Europe, etc., it is, at least right now, super cheap to advertise on these channels compared again to other markets, or maybe compared to other media. Of course, the more people getting on these platforms, the more advertisers are getting on these platforms, the more expensive it also becomes in the Caribbean. But at least right now, for a few $100 you can almost reach your complete country, especially when you're thinking about that most Caribbean countries have rather small populations. But not only that, you can easily reach target markets outside of your country and in other Caribbean islands / countries. So the message that I want to communicate here is when we talk about social media, first think about the platform where your customer actually spends their time. Don't scatter and splinter your efforts through or over too much different platforms. Really start with one. Dial in that platform, make sure that is working, and then maybe you can expand to other platforms. And I also want to encourage you to not only go with the organic strategy, which should always be a part of your long-term strategy to build that brand awareness, build that community, build that audience, build that follower base, but also think about a solid paid strategy that kind of can support the organic one. And I think, when you have a solid or a healthy mix, that is probably the best way to go. Second, big marketing channel that you definitely should have in mind is, generally speaking, search. But at the end of the day, we only really have one competitor here, and that is Google. We could talk about Bing and Yahoo, but let's be realistic here. Search is a little bit more down the funnel from a marketing strategy perspective, meaning, usually when someone types something into Google and searches for something, either for a product or for someone that offers a specific product or service, that person is at least aware of the problem that the person has, and maybe even aware of your company, of your organization, and is searching for you as a specific company name, etc. So now we are really at the point where the money is, because now we are in a stage where people are almost ready to buy, meaning if they now get the right information, they ready to take the next step and make a purchase. And the same like we had on the social media side, we have the same situation on the search channel. When it comes to Google, we have on the one hand the organic side, meaning you do not pay for any ads, you do not pay Google to show up in these search results. And in that case, we're talking about search engine optimization, meaning you optimize your website, your online store in that way, put content on the CMS system so that you actually can be found, so that Google lists you in their search results. And when someone types in your product name, a specific question or phrase, or maybe even your company name, that you now show up on the top of the search results. And that is another thing that I mentioned earlier on, why it's so important that you actually own your online shop, your e-commerce system, because again, if you are on a marketplace like Amazon, you don't really have options to adjust that really, or to change the back end in that scenario and really do good search engine optimization, at least not for traffic outside of Amazon. And then, of course, you also have the option to pay Google to show up in the search results. For example, you can pay Google for specific keywords, so that when someone types in a specific phrase or a specific word, that now you show up with your website, with your online shop on the first, or at least at the top of the search results, maybe not the first place, but hopefully above the fold. And same here as before when we talked about social media. I think it's also important to have a kind of hybrid approach here. So to make sure that on the one hand, all the content and all the tech side is set up in a way that people can find you organically, so that you kind of get this free traffic. And on the other hand, that you also make sure that you have a solid paid strategy in place, where you are able to really get the keywords that indicates that people are ready to buy, and maybe even bidding for your own brand names, because especially when you're running a bigger organization, it's not uncommon that your competitors are bidding for your brand name, for your company name, or for typical products that you are selling. So just that they show up and basically steal your traffic and your customers. So you want to make sure, again, that you think about both sides of this coin here. Last but not least, I think one big marketing channel that a lot of Caribbean organizations really underutilize is email. And maybe not only email, but also phone, the phone numbers of your customers. Because believe it or not, email is still one of the main revenue drivers of all marketing channels. I don't really understand why a lot of so many organizations do not use email marketing in the Caribbean, because although a lot of people might be using more WhatsApp, things of that nature, email is still a very important communication channel when we're talking about business, when we're talking about buying things. So what we often see is that organizations, companies might even have an online store solution. And when people buying there, they collect these email addresses, or generally speaking, the contact information of their customers, but then they don't use it. They don't use it. They don't have a email autoresponder. They don't have a CRM system in place to actually nurture these customers and build a relationship with them, remarket them, inform them when there are simple things like sales or other marketing campaigns that you might be running. So I want to encourage you to not only think about a solution for your e-commerce system, meaning Shopify, WooCommerce, e-commerce, whatever it might be, but also to think about a marketing automation system, an email marketing automation system that really ties into your e-commerce solution and your overall strategy. Because again, maybe not short term, but from a long term perspective, email marketing, collecting emails, collecting contact information, will attribute a big chunk of your overall revenue. And again, you have the same problem here when you are only active on certain marketplaces. You do not have any option or any opportunity to collect the contact information of your customers, but basically hand them over to the marketplace owner, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, whatever it might be, and are very limited in building your own customer database. All right, so let's assume you follow all these steps. You have a solid e-commerce solution. You have a proper marketing strategy in place. Now the big question is, okay, how do you actually get that money? How do you actually get paid? And that topic, or generally speaking, that area is far from perfect, especially in the Caribbean. So you have to make sure, or you have to spend some time here to really figure out what makes the most sense in your situation. So first of all, I think we still have to differentiate between offline payments and online payments, because let's be honest, in some situation, online payments just are not available or don't work, depending on the country you are in or the platform that you are using. So I want to make sure that we talk about the offline options that you have and also about the online solutions that are available, at least right now. So let's talk about offline payments first. Most e-commerce providers have different offline payment options that they offer to you. So for example, or alternative payment options that you can choose besides from the online payment gateways, where we'll talk about in a minute. So or very simple solution, people buy their product online, or rather place their order online on your online shop, on your website, however you want to call it, and then you deliver the product and then they pay on delivery or cash on delivery. In my perspective, that is or should be the last option for you, or the last route that you should take, because besides the fact that you can run in some cash flow problems here, especially in some Caribbean countries, you have there is a certain risk that is involved when you handle too much cash, or maybe you send your delivery driver to a place to deliver the product, to deliver the meal, the food, whatever it might be, and then the person doesn't show up, or maybe even worse, and you basically lost that sale. So cash on delivery is always an option, and if there are no other options available, that might be the only one for you, but should be the last one. Then on the other hand, we have a little more secure, a little more convenient solutions like bank deposits, so or wire transfer, however you want to call it, or whatever you want to use and make sense in your certain situation. And I think that is probably for most organizations right now, or at least a lot of organizations, one of the best ways to go, either because of the lack of online payment gateways that are available, or because maybe you are selling high price items that cost 5, 10, 20,000 US dollars or more. Then of course, that isn't something that is quickly done with a credit card payment, but maybe you want to wire that money, or you get paid through a bank deposit. Online payment gateways, loved and hated. I think still a big bottleneck and still one of the major problems when we talk about e-commerce solutions in the Caribbean, or e-commerce strategy, generally speaking. Because no matter how you want to frame it, at the end of the day, there are still a lot of problems involved. There are still a lot of inconveniences, and depending on the country you are living or operating in, you might be even completely unable to use any of these solutions. But I think at the end of the day, the goal for you should be to make paying you for your customer as easy as possible. And quite often the easiest way to pay something online is through your credit card, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, whatever it might be, because that enables you to basically sell globally, because now no matter where your customer is, they can always pay with their credit card in different currencies, different jurisdictions. So that should be the goal. And again, basically every major e-commerce solution today, Amazon, eBay, Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever it is, they all have gateways, integrations, APIs that integrate with most of the big payment gateways that we have today. So the trouble or the challenge now is, okay, how or which payment gateway do you actually use to enable these online payments or to enable these credit card payments? So for example, PayPal is one of the few solutions that you can use in almost every Caribbean country, although it comes with a lot of downsides. The big benefit, of course, is that it's really quite common, for example, especially in the US. So if your target market is the US, then think about how you can implement a PayPal gateway so that people can easily check out through PayPal. The big downside, on the other hand, of course, is that the clearing, the settlement till that money actually reaches your bank account can take a few weeks up to a few months, depending on your country and your bank. So therefore, right now it is a solution that, in my eyes, you should always offer, because again, it is available in most Caribbean countries, although it's not optimal. But I also want to remind you that you are able to pay with PayPal a lot of your online expenses. For example, for your, let's say, ads that you run on Facebook or on Google, or for example, for your e-commerce solution like Shopify, WooCommerce, email marketing, marketing automation software, etc. So you can offer that as a payment solution, and then although it is quite difficult to get that money into your bank account in your currency, it maybe can be a good way to pay all your expenses, and then quarterly, or I don't know, at the end of the year, whatever, you can make that payout. Again, that can be a cash flow problem, but I'm assuming that you're already an established business and thinking about putting e-commerce as a on top sales channel. So that might be a way to think about that. Then we have solutions like Stripe, one of the most recognized, most famous, and most advanced payment gateways that are out there. Very easy to use. Almost every e-commerce solution, almost every online platform integrates quite seamlessly with Stripe. I would recommend that to everybody who has actually access to it. Big downside here is, again, Stripe, like a lot of payment gateways, doesn't operate in a lot of Caribbean countries. There are a lot of reasons for that. We can talk about another time. But basically, to be able to use Stripe, you need a bank account or a business registered in the US, in the UK, in Europe, to be able to use that. And let me say one or two sentences about that. I hear often the recommendation that people should use a bank account of a relative or a friend that maybe lives in the US or lives in the UK or lives in Canada, and just use that to open a Stripe account, and then use that to receive payments from their business in the Caribbean, and kind of funnel that through the relative or friend. And I can only advise you that to not do that. For a simple reason, you at that moment mix your business with someone else's private bank account. So what you're basically doing, or what someone could charge you for, is money laundering and tax evasion. So you risk, or yourself, you expose yourself to a lot of risk from to be charged by the authorities in the Caribbean or in the US, but also your friend or relative that just want to help you in that case, maybe unknowingly commits a crime here. So I only can highly recommend to step away from these kind of solutions. Make sure that always all your bank accounts are in your name when you operate in another jurisdiction, you open the bank account in the name of your company. Don't use a third party to funnel any payments sooner or later. That will get back to you, and we want to make sure that you start completely clean from the beginning and actually can build here, and not maybe a few years down the line, your whole organization, your whole business crumbles or has a lawsuit because you used someone else's bank accounts. So don't do that. Very bad advice. Fortunately, we have more and more payment providers that are from the Caribbean. There are multiple ones. Just for the sake of this talk or this presentation, I choose WePay here. So now we get more and more local payment gateways that you can use to process your payments or to enable your customers to pay via credit card and other solutions. They work, generally speaking. They sometimes still are a little clunky or do not have that nice user interface or checkout experience that you are used to with other providers like Stripe, PayPal, etc. And often lack a lot of the functionality and features that a lot of these other providers have. But nonetheless, definitely when you think about your strategic roadmap, make sure you check out some of these providers. Maybe you have even now, your local bank provides some form of payment integration with one of these e-commerce systems. Problem here is that sometimes or quite often that comes with a little more upfront investment, a little more upfront cost, either on the bank side or because you need a developer to actually manually tie everything together. So as I said, it's still a little clunky, but I think over the next years, we hopefully see some progress here. And I'm quite optimistic that in a few years, we have proper payment solutions that enable every Caribbean country, every Caribbean organization and business to accept easy online payments. So what is your strategy? I hope I gave you an overview about the different areas that you should think of when you plan your e-commerce strategy. I excluded one big topic today, the whole logistics area topic, because depending on where you are, what kind of business you operate, that might be different. If you're a delivery service or if you are selling really expensive machinery, whatever it might be, that is at the end of the day something that you have to organize by yourself or with your local mail providers or whatever it might be anyway. But generally speaking, I would also make sure that your e-commerce solution that you choose at the end of the day has all the capabilities that you want in that case. Maybe offers things or features like tracking of your orders. Make sure that you have a solid warehouse function, in inventory function integrated in your e-commerce system. But that is a whole other topic. So let's recap really quick. Let me remove that here. So there are, at the end of the day, in my eyes, three big pillars, three big areas that you should think of before you start with your e-commerce journey, or that you need to keep in mind when you build a strategy for your e-commerce platform. So first of all, of course, you should think about the platform itself, meaning are you going with an existing marketplace? Do you use standalone e-commerce solution where you can build your own online shop, your own brand, etc. on top? And as I said earlier, I would recommend to definitely go with your own e-commerce solution where you own your branding, where you own your customer data, your marketing, etc., and can have full control over that. And then again, you can tie in the other marketing channels or the other sales channels and still have the best of both worlds. Then after you decided what platform makes the most sense for you, then of course you should think about the proper marketing strategy for that platform, because again, when you're not only using a marketplace where there's already a lot of organic traffic, then you need to make sure that people can find you, that people are aware of your brand, and that people actually buy from you, because otherwise you will build something and nobody will know about that. So make sure you think about your marketing automation, you think about your email marketing solutions, etc., so that you really have a long-term plan and that you build your customer base. And then last but not least, make sure that you have a strategy in place how you actually accept payments, especially when you want to sell online, and when you process the payment or want to process the payments online and not only use your online store as a digital storefront, and then the actual transaction happens offline, which of course is also a way how you could go, but make sure that your payment solution actually works for your specific situation, because as I said, there is no ideal solution yet, but there are quite a few where you can choose from, and I think you should be able to make that work. So 3 areas: your platform, your e-commerce system, your marketing solutions, and your payment solutions. All right, that's it so far from my side. I hope that was beneficial for you, that you learned something and maybe spark a few ideas that you gonna think about in the future. I will stay on for a few more seconds and now open a little bit the panel for discussion. So if you have a question, make sure to put it now in the chat. And then I am try to answer it. And of course, if it was helpful, make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, wherever you are watching this right now. And of course, if you want to stay in the loop, if you want to get more information about strategy, about business, economics, technology in the Caribbean, make sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter. If you are on YouTube right now, you should see the link somewhere down there in the description, and should be easily able to sign up. If you watch this on LinkedIn, again, feel free to connect with me, and if you want more information, feel free to shoot me a DM there. All right, it looks like we answered all the questions so far. Then I want to say thank you for your time. I hope you have a great start in the day, or if you watch that as a replay, as a recording, I hope you have a great day, great night, whatever. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.